Hey everyone and welcome back to the channel. I'm Dave and today we'll be taking a look at the iPhone 6 because this still is, to this date, the best-selling iPhone ever made with over 220 million units sold, closely followed by the iPhone 6s with 170 million. But you may be wondering, why did it do so well? Why was this such a great success? Well, this was the biggest leap in screen size ever, as the previous iPhone 5s had a 4-inch display, while the iPhone 6 came with a brand new 4.7-inch display and the 6 Plus with a massive, for the time, 5.5-inch display. And keep in mind, this was at a time when most Android devices were already, pushing screen sizes of over 5 inches, and the iPhone 5s really started feeling small. So Apple did the best thing that they could have done, and that's making the iPhone bigger and also completely redesigning it. In fact, even though this design wasn't really liked by everyone, and it definitely felt less premium than the iPhone 5s before it, it was a huge success. It basically dictated the design language of the iPhone for the next years. Because, for some context, this is an iPhone 6 from 2014, yeah? And this is an iPhone SE from 2022. And these two devices are 8 years apart. But from the front, they look absolutely identical. Can you even tell which is which? Of course, you can easily tell because this is running iOS 12, this is running iOS 26. The icons look a bit different, but just take a look. From the front, these are basically identical. Anyway, let me take this case off so we can take a closer look at the iPhone 6. I'll even add some B-roll here so you guys can see it closer. And by the way, this is still the genuine case that I bought like 10 years ago, and just take a look at it. It held up extremely well. I'm quite impressed. Then I bought the exact same one for the iPhone 6s, and this also had held up very well. Oh, and do you want to know a fun fact? Up until last year, when the iPhone Air came out, the iPhone 6 held the title as the thinnest iPhone ever made, at only 6.9 millimeters. And keep in mind, while the iPhone Air has a thickness of 5.6 millimeters if I'm not mistaken, this is a purposely built device to be as thin as possible. So Apple really tried to make the iPhone Air as thin as possible. While the iPhone 6, on the other hand, this was just Apple's, flagship iPhone of the year. They didn't even try to make it the slimmest iPhone ever. They just tried to make the best iPhone ever. Today's flagship, the iPhone 17 Pro Max, is like 9 millimeters thin or something crazy, or thick rather than thin. So while the design and the screen size of the iPhone 6 were indeed new, the internals of the phone didn't see that much of an upgrade compared to the iPhone 5s. I think it only had a 25% faster CPU when compared to the iPhone 5s, the same 1GB of RAM, and yeah, they were very similar when it came to the camera. And this unfortunately made it so the iPhone 5s and the iPhone 6 ended up at iOS 12 as their less supported OS, even though the iPhone 6 was 1 year newer than the iPhone 5s. And what's even worse is that the iPhone 6s, I have one right here, which came just 1 year after the iPhone 6, received 3 more years of software updates, up to iOS 15 as opposed to iOS 12, and that's a huge difference. This basically means that the iPhone 6s is still pretty much usable today, with most of the apps still working on it. By the way, drop a comment down below if you'd like to see a separate video on the iPhone 6s. But on the other hand, yeah, the iPhone 6 is pretty much not necessarily unusable today, but yeah, it's quite difficult to live with this phone in 2026. Most apps no longer work, but yeah, let's see what I still have installed here, and let's see what else works and what doesn't. So yeah, let's start with emails, and please ignore the 21,000 unread emails. I usually tend to read them, but yeah, of course I'll blur this out, but yeah, email still works perfectly fine. What else do we have here? Let's try Instagram, for example. And yeah, you can tell this is taking ages to load, but once it loads, if I remember correctly, it should be just fine. And yep, yeah, Instagram works just fine. What else do we have here? Let's try YouTube. And unfortunately, if I recall correctly, YouTube is not going to work. Again, it takes ages to load, and it does load up. It says that I'm logged in. It sees that I have YouTube Premium, but it says update required. Then you have two options: to quit or to update. But if you tap on update, it just takes you to this page where you cannot update because it requires iOS 16 or later. So no matter what you do, YouTube is unfortunately unusable. So that's quite sad. Let's see what else do we have here. Calculator. Let's try this. So 5 plus 6, that's 11. Yep, calculator works. Let's try Hill Climb Racing, one of my favorite games. Yeah, you can see it takes a while to load because the storage was actually very slow on the iPhone 6. Yeah, this is taking ages, but believe me, this works. But yeah, let's try something heavier actually. Let's go directly to GTA San Andreas. I haven't tried this before, so I'm genuinely curious if this this actually works. No, I'll skip this. Resume, okay. Okay, I guess this started a new game at some point. And I just got hit by a train. Okay, cool. This does seem to work quite well, actually. It's around 25 to 30 FPS. GTA San Andreas, 12-year-old iPhone. Cool. Okay, now what else? Let's try Twitter. And yeah, this is not going to work because Twitter actually became X, and when you try to download the X app, it won't let you. So yeah, that doesn't work either. Let's try Safari. So if we go to apple.com, yeah, it does take its sweet time, but once it loads, it's fine. Yeah, this is quite good. What else can I show you? Oh yeah, the camera is also decent, but it's definitely not as good as the iPhone 6s. This was a huge upgrade just 1 year later. So let me just take a photo here. Okay. I'll put this photo up on the screen right here. But yeah, you can see the quality is not fantastic. But what about battery life? Well, the battery life wasn't great to begin with. It would make it through the day when it was new, but not all the time. But if you wanted better battery life, you had to go for the bigger iPhone 6 Plus. This had decent battery life, but not amazing. And what I'm really surprised by is the fact that even though this iPhone is 12 years old, because I got it in 2014, right after the official launch, the battery health is at 89%, and that's just shocking. Okay, it only has like 300 charge cycles. I just checked with coconut battery, but even so, this speaks volumes for the quality of batteries that Apple was using back in the day. 12-year-old iPhone and still 89% battery. Seriously, I've met people that have a 1-year-old iPhone and have a lower battery health than this, so I'm genuinely impressed. So what about the screen? Well, the screen is very good. Well, it was very good for 2014 standards. It had a 720p Retina resolution, 60 Hz, it was of course LCD, and it had great color reproduction and brightness. So yeah, it was quite good to be honest. I mean, for today's standards, it really isn't anything impressive anymore. But then again, iPhone SE 2026, iOS 26, it uses the exact same screen, and this is a much newer device, 8 years newer than this. And this phone was also very controversial, especially the 6 Plus, which I don't have right here, because it bent quite a lot. You all know about Bendgate, and while I did have an iPhone 6 Plus as well at the time, I managed to avoid bending it for an entire year. Yeah, I guess I was lucky. Anyway, it was also very controversial because of the design, especially these antenna lines. Now, they don't look very Apple-like. Of course, we got used to them quite quickly, but when this first launched, these antenna lines were quite controversial. I was never a fan of these, and again, having random lines on the back of your iPhone wasn't very Apple-like, so to speak. So to sum up, is the iPhone 6 usable today? Well, no, not really. I mean, you can still use it to make phone calls, send and receive iMessages, browse the web, play some games, including GTA San Andreas, which is quite demanding, but that's about it. Most of the apps have lost support for iOS 12, including YouTube, and that's quite sad. But I would honestly say that this is great as a secondary device, or say as an iPod Touch replacement, because just take a look at this. If we go to music, all of my Apple Music songs are here, and that's quite cool. Let's just try playing a song. Yeah, Apple Music works perfectly, even on iOS 12. So again, this could be used as an iPod Touch. I'm not gonna play more of this song because I don't want to get a YouTube strike on my channel, but yeah, you get the point. Wow, and look at that lag. But yeah, you get the point. This still can be used as an iPod Touch or a secondary device. Just simply don't add a SIM card in it and pretend it's an iPod Touch. Why not? So, should you pick one up in 2026? Probably not. If you can find one for say $20–30, then yeah, why not, just to have like a collectible iPhone if you're into that. Or again, to use as an iPod Touch, that could work. Either way, let me know down below if you've ever used an iPhone 6 and for how long did you keep it. Or hey, if you're still using one today, I'd really love to hear about it and how you manage with it. But yeah, this was Dave on Tech. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe. And of course, I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.